Good morning. Hello. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. So, we're trying something a little bit different. I'm going to try to start this stream about 10 minutes before market open every time I do this. Just so that way we can kind of go over some stuff in the beginning. I figured this way I can still do the streaming video, but at the very least, we should at least have some good information, maybe some good lessons on planning out your day, picking levels, things like that, by going over, the first 10 minutes kind of together. So figure out a way I can kind of add some content that isn't an hour and a half long. Also, trying out a slightly different excuse me, view here. So, what I wanted to do for you guys is I wanted to set up a market profile chart in which you could see the overnight session in a market profile, but we could also see the previous profiles as well. So, unfortunately, I have to kind of separate these out a little bit because if I was to turn overnight data on the main chart, then it would completely distort the looks of our bell curves for all of the other trading days because it would include both of their aftermarket and pre-market data. And when you're looking at market profiles, it's more the RTH stuff that you're concerned with on previous days as opposed to looking at the overnight activity. So I digress. Well, I thought I had the price axes set correct for these. What? Why is this a percent? Okay. Well, I'm going to have to futz with that a little bit more later. But anyways, what I had done is I had situated this so it was all kind of lined up and the price axis was the same. So that way you could get a better read on how everything moved. So there we go. That looks decent. All right. So here's our last 5 days. And then here's just the overnight session that we're looking at right here. In fact, our overnight high actually popped up a little bit higher. So CPI data dropped. We came in under. So things are still moving in the correct direction. And it looks like people took this as a huge bullish sign. Your guess is as good as mine, but perhaps people are expecting that, oh, no, in December, they're not going to raise us another, 0.75 basis points, which means, of course, when they do raise us 0.75 basis points in December, this rally, if this does end up developing into a rally, should come back down to earth a little bit. So where does this leave us for today? Well, we've got a big reaction, and it has now caused us to gap up and over. So today, really, it's just going to be important to pay attention to your momentum signals, your direction signals. If sellers step aside because of how aggressive this move is, like, don't fight it. Just move with it. Look for logical spots in the structure that we've already established where you should be taking your profit or where there could potentially be trapped sales from previous weeks, days, months, whatever, right? Just, be careful. Don't try to think you're smarter than what's happening. Don't try to guess the top of it. Um, this is a very emotionally driven decision this morning, and anything can happen. We could keep exploding up like a rocket ship. We could hit some zones that trigger an opposite reaction. People could start to feel like things got too bullish too quickly. Just anything can happen. So really be on your guard today and just trust the price action. Move with it, not against it. Don't try to guess bottoms. Don't try to guess tops. All right. So we're going to keep it simple. We're back above our moving averages. Things are pointing up. We've got bullish momentum to start the day off, and that's just how we're just gonna look at it. We're not gonna get super involved in the technicals because again, this is a very emotionally driven decision right now. And we're going to use the information as it develops to just help us determine if value is leading price or if price is leading value. So to explain that a little bit further, if value is leading price, then we should see this market just continue to move up, and any breakdown attempt is met with more invigorated buying. If price is leading value, we'll probably see some rather abrupt, choppy liquidation breaks to bring us back into the realm of reality. We could still move up, even if we are leading value because of emotional decisions. And of course, the momentum is pointing straight up now. So it is going to take quite a bit of selling pressure just to get this wheel to stop moving in the upward direction. All right. So we've got about a minute and a half now till market opens. We're going to go back to our normal view. I go ahead and shut overnight activity off because we're not going to need that once trading starts. And we're going to go back to the chat room so that way I can see anybody who may have some questions. Good morning. Hello. Thank you so much for joining me again. Today should be a very fun day. Hope you're as excited as I am. Here we go. That's good. Got all that open. All right. Now back to my main screen. So there's definitely some potential for early trades. Obviously, we're on a huge gap, right? So the first thing we can look at is if there's going to be a fade or if we go with the move. Geez, this is still going. We're going to try and get our overnight level to be correct. All right. So as far as contracts go, we're going to look at 390s long to start the day because that's where our 50% retracement is, and also a VPOC from back in September. Yeah, from back in September 15th. So let's get those loaded up. Wait, what did I just say? 390. Good gosh. Oh, man. Yeah. Wow. Contract pricing on the 390s just went from like a couple cents to $2. It looks like our overnight level's pretty much where it's supposed to be. That's good. Okay, so on the short side, we've got the overnight high there. We've got a major support resistance at 386.45. I think we'll do 387. Yeah, we'll do 387 on the short side. All right. Now I need to turn overnight data off on my main chart so this looks a little bit better to read. There we go. All right. Got to adjust a couple more things. So we just hit a supply point from early November. Oh, so this was not too long ago. November 2nd. No, it looks like when we did find there was some supply there. So now we're challenging the opening low. All right, got a lower low. Here we go. Got a crossover in our moving averages. See if we get a good spot to enter for the fade. We don't want to just jump into the fade because, again, everything's kind of crazy right now. Ideally, we want to get in on a pullback towards our 13 moving average. But this also could just keep dropping like a rock and we missed our opportunity, and that's okay too. All right, so there's the pullback to our 13. to monitor to see if it makes sense to get in here or not. Things are very volatile right now too, so take that into consideration. I would recommend risking down on positions that you play while we wait for the morning to suss itself out. Yeah, getting a breakdown. I did not enter into the fade because I don't have anything other than the 13 moving average to confirm it for me. So I don't like the probability standpoint of the short. It's not a play for me. Maybe it is for you. If it is, great. Looks like if you got in on the crossover at least, I mean, you're in a great position. You can let this ride for a bit. All right, so here's our first potential pivot. Major support resistance. I just switched to 387s on the short side. That's the line we're going to be paying attention to now. If you were riding short and you haven't taken profit yet, might want to consider it now that we're challenging VWAP. Of course, keep your wits about you, because if we have VWAP acts as resistance here, then that's great for your short position. We should get another leg down in that case. See if this line we drew holds as support now that we got a push off of VWAP. Nope. Put call ratio is slightly on the bullish side. Interesting. So that leads me to believe we're seeing some pretty strong profit taking. These are longs taking positions off. This isn't really selling. I mean, longs taking positions off is selling. So a little hindsight analysis. If we had gotten in short on the touch of the 13 back after the first initial drop, we actually would have been perfectly fine and safe riding back to that VWAP touch. Should have been close to break even, close to being in profit, maybe a little red depending on where your price point was. But, still shows that it was a good risk to reward. And then how everything lined up with VWAP made sense too. This fade is definitely struggling. Let's see what happens up here at VWAP again. We're going to switch to 386s on our shorts. Oh, darn it, we missed it. I actually wanted to grab the break back into the channel. And I didn't like the price of the 387s, so that's why I was trying to switch it quickly. Whoopsie. All right. So we did get a second hold here, which leads us to believe if we don't get further down thrusting, the next attempt at VWAP probably will be a break. But if the down move doesn't show signs of weakness, then we could be seeing some single time frame trading, right? Which means we should continue to see any moves up to VWAP hold as resistance. All right. Well, based on the channel that we've drawn, we definitely got some good down thrust. That's not a weakening down thrust. That's almost to the bottom. Obviously, we're still going to monitor for any breaks of the structure because that'll probably be a good spot for us to flip our script. And we already missed all the good opportunities to ride this fade. So we're going to be starting to look at long positions when this fade gets closer to completion. So we're actually going to switch to 386s on our long side now, just being prepared for when it drops down to this high volume node and the T+2 high. course, if we break structure, we'd rather be in 387s. So we're going to switch quickly back to 387s again. Jeez. Trying to find a good spot to buy in long, like what a good price would be, but this is the movement in price is really rough right now. Actually, that might have been a good low right there. So that did come down and touch our 13, and we've got some crossovers, or we've got a crossover event threatening to happen. We got a touch of VWAP and a rejection right there. Getting close to a crossover with VWAP. These are some really good signs for the up move. Where are we going to enter, though? I like my signals. I just don't know where I want to enter. Damn. We missed the good first move. Hello, good morning. Welcome, sir. Good God, these prices are just moving so fast. All right. Well, we're in. It's an okay price. Not my favorite spot, but it's going to work. Now, we don't know if this is going to want to rip or if it's going to want to balance out. So we do have to be careful about not overholding this position, or at least trying to trim out profit where it makes sense. I mean, ideally, I want to see us pop through this thin spot right here before I start looking to take profit. Overnight high will probably be our first point we're looking at. Sorry, I see you were chatting. I'll look at that screen in a second, but just want to make sure I'm focused in case I need to make a split-second decision. All right. Are we going to pop through this thin spot? Looks like it wants to. Although that was a pretty sizable green effort that didn't seem like it was moving anywhere. Wow. That thin spot actually just built up a lot of volume. That looks like somebody put in some large orders right in that spot. We'll see if price can continue up over the overnight high. We've got a lot of effort going in, but it does seem to be struggling to make price gains. So we've got a new thin spot below us. That's going to be our bail spot if price starts rapidly dropping. But I like that it's consolidating up here with all this volume. That gives me some... Oh, hey, would you look at that, guys? We hit our first target. All right, I guess we'll put a stop just below the overnight high in case this starts trying to balance out. Oh, I need to move that down a little bit. There we go. Ideally, I want to get my stop below that thin spot. Oh, geez, I didn't even have time to move that again. Okay. Well, we're out of our position. It moved pretty rapidly through that thin spot. So glad we adjusted our stop. If VWAP holds, we could probably step back into this position. And it was just about at the price we paid to get in. So we might be able to keep our price point the same. All right. Now that I'm out of that trade, let me see what you were saying. Ah, gotcha. Yep. Nope. Taking on all the domestic responsibilities could definitely make trading a little bit more challenging. But it's good to see you. Glad you were able to join us this morning. I'm glad you were able to step in when I finally made a good trade. Man, the last couple days is just, I mean, we've been ending green, but I don't know. There was like a confidence thing at first where some of my emotion felt like it was still carrying over from the previous day where I was just really frustrated that I was reading everything right. I was on the right side, but I ended up getting bumped out before any of the moves I was trying to play to happened. So today feels good. We're going to make sure that we don't let this elation get to us, though, right? Those positive emotions can be just as damaging as the negative emotions. And by damaging, I mean if we're not aware of them, if we're not cognizant of them, we can kind of get in this mindset where we can't be wrong, right? It's like, oh wow, I just made a lot of money off that decision, and then the greed can start to kind of slip in, and all of a sudden we're not really paying attention to signs of reversals or weakness, and we just we let it ride, so to speak. So yeah, positive emotions, negative emotions, you got to be aware of both. All right. So that all happened pretty quick. We're going to take a peek at what we're sitting at. All right, so we're 94 cents up on the day. Pretty good spot. Not our goal, obviously, but we'll probably, definitely have some opportunity for some more plays. The volatility's high today, so should be some good stuff. Oh, so some hindsight. We definitely didn't have to sell our position, especially since we never broke VWAP. And yeah, we just oh, actually, this high right here did not hit the maximum value of the contracts off that first high. That's volatility for you right there, baby. This does look like the thrust may be weakening. Let's get some drawings down on our chart, meow. See what this looks like for us. Now that we've got something that kind of resembles a channel. Yeah, that could be some weakening thrust. We're not going to try and guess the top of this, though, especially not with how explosive the movement was following CPI. But if we do get a breakdown of this structure, we may try and play short to VWAP and see if VWAP holds or if it blows through. So if we get short on a structural break, we should at least have some things in our favor to get a decent scalp. But given what we've seen so far today, I wouldn't hold a short position that isn't working. It looks like we broke through that supply zone. Are there any others above us? Oh, geez, I don't have any other supply zones marked off above us. I have a VPOC from 915. Of course, there is also the off chance that we just kind of start to flatten out now. It'll all depend on how people continue to react. Volume wise, we've got a butt ton of volume in the first half hour. I mean, it's huge, especially compared to what we saw yesterday and the day before. Oh, wow. As Owen Wilson would say, wow, 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 wow. Yeah, so this is why you don't try to guess the top, right? So we definitely had a shortening of the thrust, but now here's kind of a renewed vigor. I mean, it's riding the midline of the channel. Good. So glad I could get that stuck in your head. Mission accomplished. Hey, look at that. That's our 50% retracement level. There's our 50% retracement level. And I'm going to say it again, guys. Don't try to guess the top. If you're going to short today's rally, use structure. Don't use traditional price action reading because that's kind of out the window since there's a lot of emotion at play today. You want to see very solid, clear breaks of structure before you start looking to short this market. And we just started B period. Shame we're not in our long position because this would have been our second profit target. So if you are long, consider taking some more profit here. And if you got in at the same spot I did, you should have been able to play your rule of threes perfectly, meaning you would have been able to take your first piece at 60 cents and then your next piece here at $1.45. And then the third one, of course, well, now we've got a home run on the table. So shame on me for not believing in my play. I mean, even with that pullback there, right? I got knocked out like 25 cents above where my break even was. So that pullback would not have even come close to my break even. But it is what it is. But I guess really what I just want to illustrate is the power of the threes strategy. I mean, right? We discussed yesterday how you only have to be right once every 5 trades, and I mean that's pretty good. Most edges are going to be right more than that. So, at that point, you're looking at a decent profit just from playing threes the appropriate way. Looking like we may have some structure breaking in a second. So, yeah, it looks like we did hit another supply zone and then consumed it. And now it's looking to see if there's some more demand up here. Would you look at that? Would you just look at it? God dang it, Bobby. That was my Hank Hill, my propane salesman. I sell propane and propane accessories. I tell you what, Peggy, something just ain't right with that boy. What? This is really how I'm going to get discovered as a voice actor. I'm just going to do impersonations here on the stream. Oh, yeah. King of the Hill. Classic. Good old Mike Judge. All right, so we do have some structure breaking. We are starting to get some sideways consolidation. Potential opportunity to short down to VWAP. See if we can find a good risk to reward or if things start to sideways channel up here. At least from that perspective, we can draw some lines to pay attention to, yeah? All right, I'll be right back, guys. I got to step away for a quick second. All right, and we're back. Still haven't gotten a crossover in our EMAs, right? So I would still be cautious about trying to short this. We don't have enough pointing down yet. Given the current market conditions, before you start looking for that short, you want to see the actual crossover, right? Because we want to see weakness in the up move. We don't want to see liquidation. We don't want to see, accumulation. We want to see the up move actually grab weakness. Yes, I use exponential, not simple. It's called the EMA cloud, not the SMA cloud. But yes, with that script, you can change what type of uh, moving average you use. But specifically, I do use the exponential moving averages. Do you have overnight data on or extended hours? And you're only looking at today? Huh. It shouldn't. I mean, if yours is set up exactly, yours should look. I mean, if you see that my stream, right, yours should look exactly like this. 512 ticks, EMA cloud, 13 for fast, 48 for slow, both set to exponential. Prices attached to the close. Those are the data points. Oh, yeah. Well, if you were looking at 133 ticks, that would be different. Whoopsie. Of course. I got you, bud. We're all stars now in the dope show. All right. Now we are starting to see a potential weakness, right? I mean, we're definitely getting that consolidation, but we are knocking on that support level, that thin zone, and we're starting to get some dropping resistance. Of course, this could be a bull flag. Keep that in mind. So, two possible scenarios. We've got a bull flag going, and we're going to see another leg up, or we finally have some weakness in the up move, and we're going to see a little bit of the opposite action and a rotation, maybe down to VWAP, maybe further. Well, if we were playing short, I know it's in the middle of the wedge, but that exact crossover point would be a decent risk to reward location. Of course, if it doesn't break the support here, then you want to get out and wait for a better position. Support might be giving up the goose. If you took that short right where I said, you're in a pretty decent spot, but, consider protecting it because we haven't moved through that thin spot yet. Your first spot to take profit if we move through is going to be that volume spike just below us, pretty much right where we have that other support line drawn. And then your next one's going to be VWAP. Yeah, nothing wrong with not trading and just watching the activity. Yeah, sometimes, I mean, if you get enjoyment out of this kind of stuff, sometimes it can just be fun to look at it and, take a crack at analyzing it with absolutely no emotion on the line, right? Because if you're not in a trade, if you don't have any money out there, it's almost impossible to be emotionally influenced. Almost impossible. Well, we got our crossover, but there does not seem to be much strength in the down move. So hopefully you took your profit if you shorted that. Intriguing. Ooh, so that looks like that was a stop run play. They were trying to get the weak shorts out. Maybe. Just making guesses. Could just be general chicanery too. I mean, this could be a continuation of consolidation. So think of it this way. I'm going to put this line back, but if we imagine that this line doesn't exist, right, then we've got kind of a wider consolidation point where we would actually start to see this thin area in the profile build out more. And then that volume spike below us starts to become part of this upper bell curve. So that would be a bullish scenario there, because then that tells us that the real thin spot is still further down, and VWAP is starting to lead the point of control just a wee little bit. But to maintain the bullish attitude, we want to see VWAP continue to move towards like the 388.5 and then eventually up and over that. I wish my main chart crosshair would show up on the chart you guys are looking at. Sometimes, if I could like kind of circle the area I'm talking about, it would make more sense. I mean, unfortunately, if I wanted to do it, I would have to reach over here to the other screen and then be like, hey, you see this thin area here? Yeah, this is the one I'm talking about. But this is the one that would be more important, right? Because if we flesh this out, well, then this complements that bell curve. So there you go. So it doesn't have anything to do with turning it on as an option because they're two completely different computers. So what it is the stream you're watching, this is my laptop, and it just has this one screen. It has the market profile on the left side and then our tick chart on the right side. But because it's the same account, when I'm on my main computer, if I draw a line on the chart because it shares a drawing set, it'll pop up for you guys and you'll be able to see it on that screen. But because it is a completely different computer, The crosshair does not show up when I'm moving it around on the main screen. I mean, shoot, I wish I could just stream this from the main computer, because then I could hop around to different screens for you guys. You can kind of see what I'm looking at. But yeah, for some reason, it don't like that. It does not like to stream, record, and have the broker open. But this works. This works. We're able to do it, and we're not crashing. All right. Well, if this does end up rotating, looks like the short we're going to want to play is the 388. So we're going to at least load that up on our short side. So it's there, it's ready. As far as our longs are concerned, 390 looks like a good one. We'll load that up. Yeah, well, I mean, that's our job, right? Well, that's my job. Be it in fitness, be it in the market, be it biohacking, we must be problem solvers. Reverse engineer problems, reverse engineer movement issues, reverse engineer mental thinking issues. Doesn't really matter what it is, the process is all really the same. Analyze it all like a forensics detective. All right, so the potential down move that we saw is now breaking structure. That bell curve fleshed out a little bit more, similar to what we were talking about. So we go from the low volume to the high volume, and it wasn't a down rotation, so we rotated to the POC. Well, that's kind of it, right? I would argue that no human being is inherently better at self regulation than any other human being. What it really boils down to is how many tools and resources we have. I think back to my days of working as a teacher in a facility school and working very closely with the psychologists and the clinicians. And I mean, a lot of these kids, while they were in, this detention facility, it wasn't that they were bad. They lacked the proper tools to deal with their emotions. They lacked the proper coping mechanisms to just deal with the world. And I mean, that's kind of how, you get people who turn out as crappy adults, or adults who just can't function, right? It's the same thing. It isn't that there's necessarily anything inherently wrong with them, unless, of course, we're talking like from a chemical imbalance perspective. But the idea is, we all have a different tool set, and we can develop and build that tool set. We can increase the amount of tools that we have. It just means you're either going to have to do a little bit of work on your own, or you're going to have to find somebody who's good at teaching you how to develop those tools. And I mean, that's why people will go to like a psychologist or a psychiatrist to sit and chat. Their whole job is to listen and to help you be your own detective and forensics analyst of your emotions. And they'll teach you coping mechanisms and skills to help you deal with that. But just like anything else, it's work. You got to put in the legwork. You got to do it. It's repetition. It's like brushing your teeth. It's boring, but you do it. Now, that comes through in the gym. right? Not every workout's going to be super exciting, but you got to put in that boring work to build your foundations, to increase your skill sets, to become better connected to your body, to your movements. Same thing with trading. You get into trading, right? You need to be connected to the markets. You need to be connected to your emotions. You can't ignore all of these things, and there's a tool for everything. You just got to develop them, do some reading, do some research, look for smart people who want to share tools that they've come up with. This is good. I like when we've got people hanging out live, asking questions and chatting with me. Because then when I'm not sitting in a trade or I'm waiting for a good trade to happen and I can go off on my tangents, there's a little bit more direction to it. It's not just me rambling. All right. So it looks like we did get an attempted push up and out and some pushback. So the good news is we can get rid of that trend line there because we do have some pretty solid sideways movement that we can be looking at now um, as where our attention should be focused to structural changes. Right. Oh, come on. That's the line. Oh, and that's like right at the top of this supply zone too. I guess we can put that there. Yeah, because I mean that's a double touch. All right, so these are the levels that we're looking at now, right? We've got this point of control that we're dancing across. We've got a little bit of resistance at a major resistance juncture, our 50% retracement and our support resistance line. Then we've got some more minor ones, one at the high of the day, 390.47, which is also at the top of a supply zone. And then we've got some minor supports down here where we had a first reaction. And then, of course, our second reaction at the bottom of our bell curve. And then the final and last one, um, very much at the bottom of the bell curve, where we kind of separate these two distinct, what's the word I'm looking for here? These two distinct distributions. There we go. That's right. There's a word for that. Double distribution. So we're only in B period, but it looks like we've got the very classic P shape developing today. So what that tells us is that all the people who are trying to get short from Wednesday, wait, no, today's Thursday. So Tuesday and Wednesday, they closed out their positions today with this giant rally in the overnight. And the P shape is very telltale of a lot of short covering. Yes, double distribution, also known as the double D. So that being said, with short covering, with the P shape, our odds of getting a good breakaway play actually do start to diminish quite a bit. It does stand to reason that we could see consolidation between the 390.47 and this lower point here at 388.7. So basically between the high of the day and VWAP as it moves up. There definitely could be some rotations. Like I don't want to just straight up say that they won't happen. They don't happen. But if you do have a P shape that's mostly short covering, sometimes they can go pretty flat. Obviously, things could change. We could get some good liquidation breaks that then entice some new buyers to enter the market on top of all the short covering, which is what would then cause us to rotate up further. Or we could start to see people who anticipated this as being a longer position start to get out of their positions, taking their profits off of longs from yesterday and the day before, or taking profit on longs that they opened up today because they don't see further pushing. And then, of course, somebody could just step in and decide they want to sell a whole bunch of their shares. So, there's any number of things can happen. We just want to be prepared with what we know. So a break of our, what would that be? Our B period high would potentially signal that we could find some further rotations up. A break of our B period low could be some liquidation entering the market or a potential sell-off. And we just have to be prepared to then get in on a good entry for what ends up happening. In this consolidation zone, I think I'm probably just going to sit on my hands. I mean, obviously, our best long positions are going to be towards the bottom of it, and our best short positions are going to be towards the top of it. So if we want to just try and play it like a balanced P, we can do that too. Speaking of which, see if this is a little liquidation break or if we've got a change in tone. We just lost that first support there. See if it finds support off that second line, right at the bottom of our bell curve. All right, we are in C period now. And C period is still inside B period. Right? Yeah. No, actually, I think C period made a little bit of a lower. Here, I want to. Which chart do I want to blow up? Okay, C period did make a lower low than B period. So right now we have a C period high that's lower and a C period low that's lower. But still looking like a slightly balanced shape. I think we're going to draw a broader channel on the day to see how that lines up. See if there's anything significant there. All right, so that's our channel on the day. Oh, well, I was messing with that. Oh, no, never mind. That's the same thing. Sorry, I just kind of messed with my view for a second there. So from the high of the day to the low of the day, we do seem to have condensing price action. But that's pretty standard for a P shape, right? Oh, looks like we are getting a test of our thinner volume area. So if we can't rotate through this, that's going to be a good argument for getting in long and playing back towards the middle of the P. So keep that in mind. we're at some decent places to start placing risk reward. Our best risk reward is going to be down near VWAP because that is right where the edge of the thin zone is. But we also do have the major channel on the day. We're kind of teetering around at the bottom portion of that. Could be a good spot to enter long too. But if we were to enter long there, we'd have to make the decision to either get out at the channel break or to hold on to it to see if VWAP is a play. So if you were to enter up here and you were going to use VWAP as your stop out, then you should, risk down. You can always add to the position if it starts taking off from the channel. And then, of course, you could also add a little bit more if VWAP ends up holding. So just some different ways to play it. Just remember, you don't always want to just think in raw contract numbers. You want to think about the valuations, what you could lose and what you could gain, right? Your risk to your reward. So the larger the space between entering and knowing where you're wrong, you can risk off a little bit, which does allow you to average down or average up to reach, your full potential, so to speak, based on the movement thereafter. Right? You don't always just have to, leverage yourself to whatever is considered max leverage on every entry point. You can kind of measure it based on the probabilities of what could happen at where you're hanging out. Oh no, we're almost out of caffeine. All right, so the channel has broken. If we had entered long there, we would potentially be looking to add to the position closer to VWAP and then getting out of everything if it broke. Or we would have sold the position that we entered into, waited to see if we could get a better price. But that's the ticket, right? If you're already fully leveraged, you don't average down. Absolutely 100% do not ever under any circumstance average down a position that's already fully leveraged in. That's like saying, here's my max loss. I'm going to add another max loss on top of it. No, that's terrible thinking. That's a bad mentality. Get out of that. We're not here to gamble. If you had a plan and it didn't work, you were leveraged to the max, get out, reposition. Now, if you leverage off, well, yeah, you can average down up to your maximum leverage. That's okay. That could be part of a play, especially if you aren't so sure if your entry point is going to be too soon or not. All right, here's good old VWAP. Do we hold? Not the exact price that I wanted, but it'll do. I'm going to guard this one. Just because I didn't get the best price. All right, well, we took a couple cents. That's fine. If we were playing a VWAP bounce, though, we would have wanted to see it keep moving up rather quickly. I mean, it got caught up on that high volume spike in our volume profile. So if it was just, some people taking some profit, then yeah, we definitely should be hopping out of that position because then VWAP's going to end up breaking. So just trying to explain a little bit of the thought process as to why I defended that so quickly. So again, plays like that, right? We want to see a very quick, rapid push away from it. If it doesn't, right, that thin zone, if it doesn't push quick away from that, then that means we have not hit the end of the auction. So we are potentially looking at that rotation through to the next high volume node. Same thing if you're playing a point of control as an ending auction point. If the auction has ended and a new one begins, the movement is rapid, right? It doesn't stall out. It doesn't hit a point that you would then, be looking to get into the opposite trade. It moves. So plays like that, if you're playing a thin area or a POC as the end of an auction and it doesn't immediately go in your favor, take the couple cents, get out. The times that's going to save you from taking a loss, look at this, right? We busted through VWAP. There's potentially still a long play here, but it's going to be different than what we were looking at before. It's not the same play. We're not looking at the end of an auction at that thin spot. In fact, it looks like we would be more so looking for the end of an auction at a higher volume node. But now, because we did hit that higher volume node and we're rotating back to lower volume, it's going to be important to see if we move up through that or if we start to find resistance at this lower volume node. Look at that. So this is the kind of movement we would have wanted to see off of VWAP if our play was correct. Yeah, this is something that if I was long on, I would still be hanging on to it. I wouldn't defend it so quickly. I'd give it the breathing room because this would be the expected movement of the play. Remember, when you are setting up your plays, it is important to also have an idea of what the movement should look like, because that can also help you make those quicker decisions on whether you should defend it, get out of the way, or add to the position in, scenarios where you see all the stars starting to align, right? I mean, averaging up is not a bad idea if you're in a good position on a trade and you get a good spot to add to. Averaging down is what can destroy us, but averaging up on a good play, that's a great way to make some more money. I don't have a strategy for you that I can share with averaging up because that's still something that's in development for my skill set. But it is something that you can start to think about. Maybe start to potentially form your own hypotheses, your own research on what and when it would make sense to average up. So again, just kind of illustrating this kind of movement. If this was the movement we had off the VWAP, we would absolutely still be holding that long play because that's what we would have wanted. The rotation from the thin area back to a high volume area. And that's exactly what it was doing, except for this, it ended up finding a new auction at that higher volume node. So looking at our volume profile, we've got these divots, right? These valleys, but we're starting to see that potentially there is going to be more upward room for today's activity. And if not today's activity, maybe tomorrow's. But it does look like it's going to want to flesh some of those areas out. So actually, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw a line. What in the world? Why are you doing that? What? I can't draw on the volume profile? That's silly. Oh, that's very silly. All right. How am I going to do this? Here, we're going to go to the other computer. It might be easier to set it up because I have to put these points outside of the volume profile, but I want to kind of show you what I'm talking about. That's That's so dumb that I can't draw on the volume profile. I don't like that. Okay, but anyways, so right, you can kind of see the trend line that I just drew in on that chart. So you see where those valleys are in the bell curve. We would expect that if we're going to continue balancing in this area, those are going to be spots where we could see volume continue to flesh out and build the overall shape of the profile. Now, if I could draw directly on the volume profile portion of the chart, you'd see all the peaks connected. So just a few though, which is fine. It illustrates the point. There we go. Okay. Well, our overall channel on the day has reshaped, so we're going to go ahead and reshape with it. Well, the market doesn't really want anything. What it is you have to look at it more from a perspective of the supply and the demand. Where there are thin areas, there is an imbalance of supply and demand. And auctions, for better or worse, tend to find balance. So it isn't necessarily that they want balance. It's that when you start to build math into it, when you start to build in, the sheer economics of having supply versus not having supply, having demand for supply versus not having demand for versus having demand for supply, it does start to create almost like this cosmic balance to itself, which is why when we get things that don't seem to find that balance, we can look at it and we can ask ourselves, okay, so what's the emotion that's going on here? Where is value if the auction isn't naturally balancing itself out here? And that's one of the reasons why I really like market profile is it adds that third dimension to the auction process. It shows you literally the shape of the auction. So you can see where there's weaknesses or where there's inefficiencies in the supply versus the demand, and you can make bets off of those. Well, I think that's where we're going to wrap our stream for today. We got some good trades. We got some good analysis. Dropped some really awesome nuggets of wisdom today. This is definitely going to be one that's worth it to watch through, sit through. Even if you watch it on a 2 times speed or faster, you should still be able to understand me. I speak relatively slow. I don't have that super fast auctioneer's pacing. But as always, guys, if you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, leave me a fun comment. Love reading what you guys have to say. If you have opinions on how the charts should be set up or things that you want to see during a trading day or during our analysis before the trading day, I'd love to try and accommodate requests like that, so that way this can be more for you guys. As long as it aligns with what I do, as long as it aligns with my viewpoints, I have no problem modifying things and making it so the education process is more smoother, and it helps you guys get a better grasp on all these topics and all these different complex notions that we may go through in a given day, right? But yeah, also please feel free to join our Discord. Hang out with me live when I do this. It's always fun to kibitz. and you can meet great people like Bob. Bob's a good guy. He's a great guy. And he's getting his own very shout out in this video now, too. All right. That's it. We're shutting down the stream. Have an awesome day, guys. And yeah, we will catch you on the flip side.